Now look at these two members of Congress and Lieutenant Governor Fisher. Let me just tell you a little bit about this. I have heard so many things. I talked to a woman in Brooklyn the other day when I was campaigning whose daughter's out in Colorado helping Senator Benton. And she was making phone calls. And she said, I talked to all these people. And they say they disagree with the Republican on everything. He's too extreme, he's too right-wing, but they think they have to vote for him anyway. And she said, so I politely asked them why. They say he's wrong on every issue. And they said, because that's the only way to get them to work together. They won't do anything together unless we reward their misconduct and intransigence and give them one or two houses of Congress. I mean, that's how upset people are. So I thought you might like to know, there was one major issue on which the Republicans and the Democrats cooperated. Establishing a bipartisan commission to balance the budget over the next few years as the economy improved. Did you know that? They did. They passed it overwhelmingly. Except it spooked the Republicans so bad when it passed that they quit supporting it. Why? Because they hate balancing the budget. All they want to do is cut taxes for people in my income group and their special interest groups and get rid of all the regulation. Now here is the real choice, not the stated choice. I've never seen so much false advertising in my life.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Again, the Tea Party movement ought to be for these guys. They say we want a balanced budget, we want smaller government, we want lower taxes. The stimulus bill cut taxes for 95% of America's families. 95%. The Republicans were against it, the Democrats were for it. Now they have promised to cancel the stimulus bill, killing hundreds of thousands of jobs and robbing us of the leadership the governor and all the state officials have worked so hard to establish in the race for a green energy future that will bring manufacturing back to Ohio and America. If you really care about balancing the budget and growing the economy, you ought to vote for the Democrats. They have the plan to do it.
Yeah.
And I'll just tell you, look, I read where a lot of these people said they were impelled into politics because they were so revolted by that bailout bill. Who wasn't revolted by the bailout? The people that voted for it were revolted by it. For all of my political differences with him, President Bush was revolted by having to sign it. We all hated it. Why? Because we were giving money to the people that caused this whole mess, and they got well before the people they hurt did. So we're all mad, right? Why'd they do it? The only reason they did it was because, the only reason they did it is because 3 days before they did it, the biggest car dealer in America couldn't finance cars anymore. It was going to get to the point where you couldn't go down to Sears and buy a refrigerator on credit. They were terrified that the credit system would break down. You're going to get 92% of that money back.
Yeah, you are.
Because the Democrats in this administration have worked hard to get your money back. But the main thing is, we can't ever do this again, right?
Right.
Okay, so here's one of the big issues in this election for Senate and the elections for House. The Democrats passed a Wall Street reform bill. And it does a lot of things, including save you a bunch of money on credit card abuses. But there are two things you ought to know about it. Americans don't know this. And I want you to go out and tell the people that aren't doing this. Here are the two things you need to know about Wall Street reform. Number one, it says, we're going to stop this. When Lehman Brothers failed, the governor's opponent's company, when it failed, it had $26 or $29 at risk for every dollar it had in the bank. Community Bank here in the Valley will loan about $10 for every dollar it has in cash. That's the safe margin. That's what we want again. So this bill says we're not ever going to let anybody do that to us again. What we're going to do now is monitor all these big banks every single month. And if they start taking more risks for job-killing schemes instead of job-creating investments, we will make them set aside more cash so they can't get in that. We'll never let it happen. But here's the other thing you need to know. There's another provision of the bill that says if they sneak around us and it does happen, there will never be another bailout, no more bailouts. The shareholders and the executives will eat the cost. The Democrats have banned these bailouts, and nobody in America knows it.